I have been experiencing Morgellons symptoms since mid-January 2011, which is about a month ago. At this stage, I don't have any large lesions on my body, but I do have a few sores, the largest of which was on my shoulder. So I removed that scab from my shoulder, placed it in a clear container that is about 1.5 inches in diameter and about a 1/4 inch deep. The picture you are viewing now I took with my digital camera, and then I added a bit of alcohol to it from a brand new, previously unopened bottle of alcohol. As you can see, once the alcohol was added, the scab began to move on its own. I'd like to qualify this by saying that there were no fans on, no air conditioning unit running, no windows open, and the table where the microscope was situated was perfectly level. I filmed this with my little Canon 5.0 megapixel digital camera in video mode that was mounted to a tripod with the camera lens focused on the single eyepiece of the microscope viewer. I cut out some of the video to decrease the size of the file for uploading. However, this movement of this scab went on for a full 5 minutes and 10 seconds. You will notice that even after I moved the container to put the scab back into focus, it continued to move. About a week ago, I filmed a smaller scab and it behaved in the same manner. This scab floated around for 5 minutes and 10 seconds, and the smaller scab floated around for at least that length of time, if not longer. Once the movement of the scab ceased and the scab became stationary, I changed the microscope's illumination of the scab and continued to record the activity for a full 2 minutes and 45 seconds. You will notice now that the scab is starting to break down. There are certain components of it are breaking off and floating away. And notice that some of them are actually floating back toward the scab. As I said, the activity you see on the screen right now went on for a full 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I assume, of course, that the partial breakdown of the scab material of the tissue is directly related to the fact that it's soaking in alcohol. I would like to interject here that the container that I used for this project had been sterilized, and then I used compressed air to blow out any residue in order to avoid contamination. At this point, I decided I would start moving the container around to see what might be floating around in the alcohol. Remember, there was nothing else in this container. It was sterilized. I blew it out with compressed air, and so that there was nothing remaining in it. And after I added the alcohol to it and moved the container around, and as you can see, quite a few different particles that fell off or emerged from that scab are floating around in the container. Now this looks like a fiber, although what I think that is human hair, because it isn't moving. But now that is what I consider to be a Morgellons fiber. It moves, it takes different shapes. Notice that the other fiber, which I think is actual human hair, is not moving. But this other fiber or organism, whatever it is moving, taking different shapes. And I've noticed that they usually form a little hook on the end in all the other videos that I've taken of these fibers. Now I'm moving it around again so that I can see if there's any other movement here. That's still a picture of the what I think is human hair, because it isn't moving at all. But now here comes a fiber that seems to have a life of its own. I must apologize for the quality of the video. It's very difficult to film with a digital camera. You'll notice that that fiber, which is not too visible, but you can still see it, it is near the other fiber, but it is moving around, changing shapes, and the other fiber is still stationary. I watched this fiber move around for a full 4 minutes and 45 seconds until it finally became stationary. At the end of this video, you will see a still shot of the fiber after the alcohol evaporated from the container. As you can see, it's very difficult to keep the moving fiber underneath the lens of the microscope. I have to chase it around a little bit, which makes it a little bit difficult. Nevertheless, I think that you can see it moving and can tell that it isn't moving because of the alcohol, the motion of the alcohol. I very gently moved the container so that it wouldn't shake it up too much. And besides that, there was probably only about a 1/16 of an inch of alcohol in the container at this point. I've also noticed, not only in this video, but in others that I've filmed of these fibers, they seem to gravitate to the outside edge of the container. When I began filming this particular fiber, it was just about in the middle of the container, and it finally worked its way over to the edge before it became motionless. And as I said, The last picture that you see here is a still picture of that fiber after the alcohol evaporated from the container. If this isn't sci-fi, folks, I don't know what is.